Yeah. All right. So we'll start with Dave and then go to Jeremy. Is that still okay? Okay. Awesome. All right. Where are my questions? All right. So Jeremy, you might want to close your ears for this one. But I'm wondering, Dave, what your first impressions of Jeremy were.
Very shy, very quiet.
Yeah.
I felt good about him just in general, just the aura, just he didn't seem aggressive or I didn't have any red flags go up on my gut instinct with him. And I instantly thought we would be a good fit.
Yeah. What gave you that impression?
Because he answered whenever I had a question for him, he would answer them, really intelligently, and I could tell he was smart, and with his experiences that he'd had up to that point, I could tell he was, he was at least interested in working. Sometimes you get guys who don't really want to work; they just want to play games all day and stay in their room and not do anything, right? But just an overall sense of, I knew also that this was going to be like a huge learning process for both of us, because I really didn't know anything about autism. I mean, what little I did know was going to take me for about the first week, and that was it.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And his parents were also very nice too, because I got to meet them on the first meeting, and I got a good feeling from both his parents, like really a good feeling.
Gotcha. Why did you want to help him so much? I think most people would have given up halfway through, but you persevered. What motivated you to see it through?
From what I learned about autism, what I read about it, what I learned about it, of course, all of it off the internet. I really, deep down, I really was determined to show Jeremy, not anybody else per se, but show Jeremy there was some myths he was living under that could be blown right out of the water, just blown right up. He was robbing himself of a better life, even though he had his struggles, like he had his challenges, obviously, but he was still robbing himself of certain things in life that could give him more enjoyment and more freedom. Right?
Gotcha. Can you talk about how your back? Because I don't actually know too much about. I know little bits and pieces about your background, but can you talk a little bit about like where you come from and? Actually, let's just start there.
Okay. Well, I won't go into huge detail. Just a quick, rundown. I was born in Quesnel, BC. When I was all of 9 months old, we moved back east to North Bay, Ontario, where I spent the first 10 years of my life. And then when my dad retired from the Air Force, we moved back to BC, where he was from. I was sitting here thinking about my life while waiting to see you, and I feel like I've lived 3 lives. My first life, I lived as a scared little boy for pretty well the whole time that I can remember.
So could you connect that with Jeremy? Because you felt that way? Okay.
Absolutely. I'm an alcoholic. Jeremy's not, and he's living proof, and so am I, that you don't have to have alcoholism to have the same struggles in life. Right? Jeremy was making a lot of decisions based on his fear, right? And I had to show him and teach him how making decisions based on fear was going to be inevitably the wrong decision every time. Right?
Yeah.
So, and then my second life, I was a full-blown alcoholic before I got out of high school. And I stayed that way till I was 27 years of age. And then I sobered up. Now that's been my third life for the last, it'll be 39 years on June the 6th here this year. And everything that I had been taught around self-help, man, I'll tell you, it comes from a lot of mentors and some counseling that I did. Been in a 12-step program for all this time. My background employment wise for helping others is I'm a retired correctional officer. I was actually retired before I should have been. It was a medical condition that caused me to retire early. And then I worked as a in a recovery house, helping men in their first stages of recovery from alcoholism and drug addiction. So I learned a lot. I'm always learning. Like, I just feel like I'm always learning. I don't think I'm ever really, although I've been put in that position to teach sometimes, I never regard myself as a teacher. I regard myself as somebody who's learning in order to help others. And, you know, I really had my battles when I sobered up. Believe me, I had a lot of changes to make in myself. And that took time. That took a lot of time. Like, if this had been in my first 12 to 15 years being sober, I don't know that I would have been all that helpful to Jeremy, because I was still going through my own changes and my own growth and my own becoming an adult, right? Just becoming an adult. It took me a while.
Gotcha.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, what caused you to sober up?
Just a bizarre Sunday morning, really. I you know, the night before, I drank 40-pounder of rum and 2 cases of beer on a Saturday night. And to this day, I don't remember where I got the alcohol from. I couldn't tell you. I have no idea. And I woke up that Sunday morning after only sleeping for 2 hours and 15 minutes. And that had never happened to me in my drinking. I was a deep sleeper, and I would sleep for hours after a drunk. And my first thought in my mind was, if I take another drink, I'm going to kill somebody, myself or both. Now, I've been suicidal throughout my drinking years, but never homicidal. I never thought homicidal, right? And when I got that thought, it scared the living hell out of me. And then when I woke up, I thought it was evening. I thought I slept right through breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And then it finally dawned on me it was still in the morning, right? And like I said, I've never woken up drinking that much alcohol that early. And that freaked me out. And, you know, I was still in denial about needing help. And, you know, when I came downstairs, I was asked if I was going to call a family member who was in a 12-step program to get help. And I said, no, I'll do it myself. And then a series of events took place in that first week that actually got me to my first meeting. And it had nothing to do with me. I had nothing to do with it. It was unbelievable. And for me to tell that story just would take too long. But trust me when I tell you that a series of events took place that I had nothing to do with, that got me to where I needed to get help.
Gotcha. How do you think that your work as a corrections officer and then at rehab center, or is that?
The corrections, as a correction officer, I worked for British Columbia Corrections Department.
Yeah. And then afterwards,
I worked at various institutions, everything from secure prison to open settings. What probably was big for me is we were always given a caseload to work. So we always had a number of inmates who would be our caseload that we work one-on-one with. And I don't know how well known this stat is. I know it's known amongst, you know, people in the business, but the majority of people in jail are there as a direct result of drugs and alcohol, right? The majority of them, right?
Yep.
Like, that's what I found in all the casework that I did. The biggest percentage of the guys that I worked with one-on-one, they had drug and alcohol problems. And
gotcha.
A lot of them didn't get up in the morning saying, I'm going to go do this tonight. But because of desperation, they went and did the stuff they did so they could get their drug, get their alcohol, do what they got to do to survive, right?
Yeah. Gotcha.
So that helped me. I had mentors on my job too that helped me along the way. I always give credit to my mentors, whether it's in the 12-step program or at work or in life in general.
Yeah.
I think the world of the old timers that taught me the ropes.
So how did they help you?
It helped me understand certain situations that would happen in a correctional setting, why inmates were certain ways, why the rules were the way they were, how to deal with hostile situations, how to deal with emotional situations, how to treat, even though these guys broke the law, how to try to at least treat them with respect. They all, for the most part, they always treated me with respect, and I gave it back to them, right?
Mhm.
Um, are there flaws in the system? Absolutely. Big time, big time. There's flaws. But I'm proud of the work I did do before I retired. I actually received a phone call from one gentleman who was doing time under my watch, and he was celebrating 1 year of being clean and sober, and he was doing it at a meeting that his mom was going to attend with him, and he wanted me to be there, and he tracked me down through one of my bosses. So that,
Oh, wow.
that was
That's
pretty
cool.
cool, right?
Yeah, that is pretty cool.
And then when I was in the recovery home working with the guys, once again I had excellent staff working with me, not under my care. I wasn't a manager or anything, but the staff that worked around me were all very helpful, all very. You got to it's kind of like teamwork, man. Whatever you're doing, whether you're in a correctional facility or recovery facility, or even in my home here with the guys, like we talk teamwork all the time, right?
Mm.
It takes a team to change one person. It really does.
Gotcha.
At least it has for me, and I know it has for Jeremy, right?
Mhm.
Like
So,
Jeremy's got a big team in place, right? Where a lot of
gotcha.
guys are out there walking the street, got nowhere to go. They don't have a team. They don't got nothing, right?
Mm.
And
So did
so
you, I
and
guess,
then all my life's experiences. Like I had a lot of experiences. Not that I was a street person per se, but I was considered a tough guy, and all that other crap, and I knew the lingo, I knew the language, I knew the stuff, right? Sometimes I just tell the inmates the only difference between you and me is I didn't get caught, right? Which was a fact, right? I mean, there was a time I didn't go anywhere without pot. I didn't go anywhere.
yeah,
And that was
yeah.
way back in the day when they were given some pretty heavy sentences for pot use
Mm.
and
Gotcha.
pot possession, right?
Yeah.
And I didn't care. I didn't care. Could care less. I was actually fired from corrections. When I originally got hired, I was actually fired from corrections
Yeah.
after being there just over a year
Huh.
for my alcoholism.
Gotcha.
They didn't have anything in place to help the alcoholic, although a year later, or about maybe 18 months later, they finally put something in place to help the alcoholic. So I was
Gotcha.
plus, but everything happens for a reason. And so when I sobered up, it took 5 years of solid employment to get that job back.
Gotcha.
And
Is
I was completely unemployable when I sobered up. I'd been fired from my 5 previous jobs. Only one that lasted a year in a 5-year period.
Gotcha. Uh, so was that the goal when you sobered up to get back the job back at the corrections facility?
That was one of them. Yes,
Yeah.
and it was to prove to me that, because the comment about me when I first was employed by corrections was I was a darn good correctional officer, but I wasn't there half the time. I'd constantly phone in sick, so I needed
Gotcha.
to prove to myself that they were right.
Mm.
And it took some perseverance, all right, because at first they didn't want nothing to do with me.
Yeah. Gotcha.
So,
So back to the team, was that was that a mentality that you use with Jeremy because I think for a lot of it, you were the linchpin that sort of built the team that was successful in getting Jeremy to where he was or where he is today. So yeah, was that sort of the same? You use that same mentality with Jeremy?
Yes. It was very important for me to be able to move forward with Jeremy and get him to the stage he's at now. Was first off, let's assemble the team, and let's make sure the team is on the same page, because Jeremy had a way of putting up resistance, let's say, to change, even though it was change for the good, right?
Mm-hmm.
He put up resistance with me in the beginning. He didn't want nothing to do with me, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes I look in the mirror and don't want anything to do with myself either. So, I couldn't blame him. So I had to make sure first Jeremy's parents were on side with what I was doing. And every time I sort of introduced a new change or a new way of doing something, I wanted the parents to back me up, and they did. They absolutely did. One of the times in the hospital, we assembled the medical team because I wouldn't bring them home until we got everybody on the same page. And then the psychiatrist, like I would go to Jeremy's psychiatrist appointments every time with him. And really, Dr. Wiggers was just fabulous in supporting what I was attempting to do with Jeremy. And, he was absolutely supportive. I think it actually pissed Jeremy off sometimes because Dr. Wiggers would go, you're really lucky to be with Dave. I hope you know that, right? And he'd look at him and give him the look, and Jeremy would give me the look, and it's like, oh, geez, He used to be able to baffle the medical people, but he met me, and baffling the medical people was going to be a significant change in his life.
Yeah. Yeah. Gotcha. How much of this does Jeremy or did Jeremy know? Of did you open up to him? Did you talk about this stuff with him?
Yes, but basically, like he says in the book, for the first 6 months, he stayed in his bedroom.
Yeah.
He was determined, and I was in no rush to I knew this was not going to be an overnight process. It was going to be a long process. It wasn't, a matter of a couple things that we had to fix. Mm-hmm. So I let him have his way for the first 6 months, as far as, just eating his meals, staying in his room, not really socializing. I had another individual at the time, and the two of them didn't say boo to each other, even though they were both excited about having a roommate. It was really bizarre, but anyways, that's what happened. So for the first 6 months, I let Jeremy, do his thing. And as far as he was concerned, the only thing he wanted to do was work, eat, take care of hygiene the least amount that he had to, and play games in his room. And at the end of 6 months, we sat down, and I had a nice long talk with him about how this living in his bubble in his bedroom was hurting him. It was actually damaging him. It was preventing him from moving forward in life at all. And one of my goals and one of the agency's goals was to get him moving forward, to become as independent as he could. So I told him that there was things were going to change from then on in. And he had to come out of his room at least once a day, watch TV or sit at the kitchen table. It didn't matter what he did, but just come out of his room for about an hour. I told him that he had to put an effort into conversations that I would attempt to do at dinner time. One of the first changes we made was he was incredibly codependent on his parents, especially his mom.
Yeah.
And I had met with his parents and the agency rep without Jeremy knowing, and said, we got to come up with another telephone system because this is hurting him. This is really hurting. Like any change we made was because it was hurting Jeremy, not hurting anybody else, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, I could have sat back and said, go ahead, live in your bedroom. I don't care, but I can't do that. I'm not built that way, man. I'm just not built that way. Man, I don't like to watch people suffer, dude. I know what it's like to suffer. I know what it's like to suffer. And I don't like to watch other people do it, right? So that was the beginning. And he dug his heels in, man. I got to tell you, he wasn't happy about this. It's not like he started singing "Glory Hallelujah, whoopie ding, I've been waiting for this." No, he went, it was like, no, he's full of, what, and this ain't happening. So we spent the next year kind of playing tug of war, right, with suggestions, with plans, even the new telephone system that we designed, that as far as calling his parents and texting and whatnot. At first, he said, I don't like this. I don't like it. About a year and a half later, he comes to me and he goes, this wasn't too bad, actually. This has been pretty good, right? Because he got to see what it was like to carry on a real conversation on the phone. You phone somebody every day, you're going to run out of things to talk about. Yeah, there's just, you can't, no, right?
Mhm.
And then so we set it up so he could talk about his weekend. He could phone on Monday, right?
Yeah,
Then he
yeah.
could, then he could phone on Friday and talk about his week, right? And in those conversations, I started to hear him, and this is going down the road a bit, of course, but he started laughing with his parents, right?
Mm.
He started talking to them about life stuff. Um, one of the hard things he had was one of the difficulties he had was coming to me with an issue. He'd still want to go to his parents with it. And they got on the same boat I was in and said, have you talked to Dave yet? That would be their response. Have you talked to Dave yet? You better talk to Dave about this. I think that's Dave's department, right? And eventually he got there, right? He got there. He still struggles with it a bit, like because he has autism, and the autistic mind wants to get things done and get them done now.
Yeah.
Whether they're done a little sloppy or a little out of order, or like, that doesn't really matter. Let's get it done, right?
Yeah, gotcha.
But yeah, it was so cool to watch, because he went from not wanting to not be able to phone his parents every day and text them a million times a day to going, wow, this really does work. This really is cool, right? So it was little things like that on this journey, and this journey is like, we're 7+ years here, right? And I gotta say, for the first 4 years of this journey, we had numerous trips to the psych ward. We had numerous disagreements where he'd get pissed off or I'd get pissed off, and we'd have to come back to the conversation a little bit later, and because we're human, right? And he had to learn how to be human too. He was very robotic when I first met him. He was just like a robot, right? He didn't even want to look up when he walked. I had to teach him how to look up and be proudful, right? Be proud of his accomplishments. Be proud to be him. Because this looking down, he used to blame it on his eyesight, and I used to say, bullshit, dude, you got glasses, you can see, right? Don't give me that. But it was low self-esteem, right?
Yeah.
And he thought so low of himself, man. It was like, and I relate to that. What I thought about myself when I first sobered up, I don't even want to repeat, right? So all these changes that he's been through, it's got to be in the last 3.5 years that he's actually been each day, each month, each week, each year, he's been far less resistant and more open to change, and actually been trying some of the things that I would suggest to him, or that his counselor would suggest to him. The first time he ever went to counseling, he didn't even, he'll tell you right now, it was just going through the motions. He didn't, he just did it because everybody was telling him to do it, right? This last time he went to counseling, he actually went to counseling. He learned about some inner child stuff, and he was sent home with exercises and homework and things to try and do, and come up with solutions for his anxieties and for his meltdowns, right? He didn't think he had any control over his meltdowns. He's got way more control over them today than he's ever had, and we had to show him how he did have control, right? And
Gotcha.
yeah.
What was the most challenging time or event with Jeremy?
I gotta say that's the first 3 years.
Yeah.
First 3.5 years, yeah, because there was numerous trips to the psych ward, for one thing, and these were planned trips by him. And what I really had to do was a lot of observation of Jeremy, and I couldn't jump. I didn't want to make it look like I was jumping to conclusions about him or about his actions. So I would put together information as I observed, and then I would be able to put it on the table in front of him. Like when I said, I can tell that your trips to the psych ward are pre-planned. And he would say, no, they're not. And I would say, yeah, they are. They're pre-planned. You plan them. So I presented him with my evidence, and he went, yeah, I guess, yeah, they are pre-planned, right? Because it was every Friday night after dinner, home on Monday, never had to phone his employer because he didn't have to go to work till Tuesday. And this was the regular, right? And
Yeah.
if he cut himself, it was a very superficial cut. He didn't want to really cut himself. But it was an excuse to get to the psych ward.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So that was really challenging. And when he was faking his some psychotic episodes that he would fake, those were really challenging, because he would stand there and look right at you and try to make you believe that what was going on, and it wasn't. I actually recorded him one time and I showed it to him, and he went, "Wow, could that be
Mm.
any phonier? Could that be any phonier?" Like, so it was at times it was easy, but at times it was extremely challenging. And so once I built a case against him where he needed to take the bull by the horns and make those changes, once I had that case to show him my proof, he could no longer argue it. Then it would be at that point that he would have to make a decision. Either you're going to change or you're not.
Yeah. Gotcha. That observation, is that something you learned, or is that something that is you just sort of, I guess, part of who you are?
It's part of who I am. That's one of the reasons they said I was a good correctional officer, because I could observe things and just make deductions through my own. And I think I got this. I see my blood. My dad's the same way. I can make observations, and I kind of blow Jeremy's mind sometimes when I make an observation or say something about a certain individual, and he goes, "Wow, like how did you know that?" Right? I don't know how I know.
Yeah.
But it's just part of my makeup.
Yeah, it's quite a good skill to have, for sure.
It is. Sometimes it's a curse. Sometimes it's a curse, but not everything's good, right?
Yeah.
But usually I try to operate off my gut instinct, right?
Mm.
And when my gut instinct's telling me something's not quite right, or an individual's dangerous, or I get that reading, right? And have I been wrong? Yes, but not very often.
Yeah. What is some of your favorite memories of working or hanging out with Jeremy?
Oh my God. Well, the first one that comes to mind is when he was on the phone talking to his mom, and his mom has cut his hair since day one. She's the only one been able to cut his hair. And this was probably a couple of years ago. Okay, 2.5 years ago. 2.5 years ago. I heard him say to his mom on the phone, "I need a haircut." And I'm guessing that his mom responded with something like that. "I guess you got to go get one." Because his next comment was, "Well, I don't know how to do that." So I piped up and said, "Go get a fucking haircut is what you do." Right? So he said goodbye to his mom. He come out and he said, "Seriously, Dave, I don't know what to do." I said, "Okay, so I'll teach you. Here's what you're going to do." And he went, "I'm not sure I could do that." I said, "I know you can do that. Why would I teach you if I didn't think you could do it?" Right? So he went out and he actually get to the barbershop, found out they only take cash. So he had to go to the bank, get some cash, and come back. And I told him, like, the barber will treat him like a normal person, like another fellow human being. There won't be,
Mm-hmm.
Well, he came back and he was shit-eating grin, ear to ear. He couldn't believe it, right? He couldn't believe how exhilarating that was to be able to do that on his own.
Mm.
And like, it's just so neat to watch somebody get through those fears, right? With their own experience, because now he's got something he can pass on to others. And that's one of them. Another one was the first time he bought his parents cards, Christmas cards and Christmas gifts. That was magical, man.
Mm.
It never crossed his mind to do that. Not once had it ever crossed. He's come to terms, quite a bit of terms with his. He was, when I first met him, he was very self-centered. It was all about Jeremy. It wasn't about anybody else. His thought process. He was consumed with Jeremy, and that took a lot to break that. And so I did it little bits at a time. I didn't even tell him about buying a card for his parents till he'd been with me for 4 years, 3.5 years, something like that. Right. But to watch him do that and watch him come home with those gifts and wrap those gifts, and it's priceless to watch, man. It's priceless to watch. One of my real big memories with him is our turning point, like the turning point where
in the car.
in the car, and he finally not came to terms, that's the wrong way to say it. He finally expressed what was truly going on inside him. And we came home and we had a conversation, and that night he proved to himself that he had emotions. He cried. That's the first time he cried. First time he told me he loved me, and I used to tell him I love him all the time, and he just, like, that's okay. That meant nothing to him. He felt that evening that somehow this was going to work. He could move forward a little bit at a time. He still has a ways to go. He has huge social anxiety. However, another memory is him going to his first staff Christmas party. At night, on the bus, and coming home on the bus. Going to his first movie by himself. On the bus. At night. These things too, the reader might think that these things are everyday occurrences for most people, which is true, they are. But for somebody with autism, I'll tell you, man, these are gigantic leaps. These are huge. These are a big deal. Right? You gotta picture yourself living in a bubble, right? That's made out of cement. The walls are made out of cement, and
yeah.
He was determined not to come out of that. Right?
Gotcha.
The first time he got honest about his fake meltdowns, because there were some fake ones, and the first time he got honest about that was a huge turning point. His rigorous honesty about the psych wards and originally going to counseling and not putting an effort in. It's just been amazing. It's been amazing, actually. Okay. Even one of my memories too is, and this might make me cry. I got a text one evening, and it was from Jeremy's mom, and she said, "Dave, I just want to thank you for giving us our son back." And you know what? I don't do this for awards or nothing in it, but you had me for a nickel on that evening. I'll tell you that. So yeah, there's been lots of good memories, and we try to focus on the good memories, and we go over those good memories sometimes. We review them. We talk about that. Especially if he starts to struggle with something, I remind him of his success. Right.
Gotcha. Was there ever a time where you wanted to give up?
Yes. Oh yeah. Yeah. Because I actually started to wonder if I was the right person for this, to get him to move forward. Right. I never really doubted my abilities, but sometimes you got to take that kind of inventory and take a good look at yourself, and I did, and I talked to a couple of people. I talked to a couple of my mentors, right, and they reassured me that I was the right person for him, and I guess I was, right. I guess.
Yeah. What did your mentors say to convince you that you were the right person?
That I had plenty of knowledge, that I had lots to offer in regards to changing oneself, to getting an individual to look at themselves as the problem, as opposed to the world being the problem, right? And that comes from my recovery. A lot of suggestions I've given them have come from my recovery, what I've learned in recovery, right?
Yeah. Especially
around self-esteem, codependence, honesty, spirituality. He didn't have a God. He didn't believe in God. Well, he'll tell you now he believes in God, and that's not a religious thing at all. It's spiritual. He's adapted spiritual thoughts to allow him to move forward, which I think is huge. Yeah.
Gotcha.
And he's starting to see where, certain things have taken place in his life that maybe he's very fortunate, right? He did get adopted. And I had to turn that adoption into a positive form, let him see the silver linings, right?
Hmm.
What would have happened if you didn't get adopted? What would have happened if you had to bounce around from home to home to home, right?
Such wonderful parents too. Oh,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. And that night when he felt so, like, he just felt like a piece of shit, right? And he couldn't understand how his parents loved him after everything that he had done.
Yeah.
But that was the turning point. That was, man, if we're going to recover from self-harm, self-hate, self-delusion, if we're going to recover from that, you have to hit a bottom. You have to hit a turning point. And I got to believe that night he hit his bottom.
Gotcha. I think last question. What's the story behind your nickname, Boomer?
Oh my God. You're going to make me tell that, are you?
I am.
Because it's not a real, it's not real comical or anything. Oh yeah, well, okay, then I'll tell people if they want to know, they got to buy the book. I got one buddy who's been asking me for, the last 8-9 years, and I still refuse to tell him. Okay, so here's the deal. It was a beautiful blue sunny sky day, and I was riding with some of my fellow riders down in Washington State. And the bike I had, you used to have to unlock the gas cap to get into it. And I unlocked the gas. We stopped to get gas. I unlocked the gas cap. I threw my key back into my saddlebag. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Got the gas, grabbed my wallet, went in, paid for the gas, came out, threw my wallet in the saddlebag, and got on my motorcycle. Now, I was notorious when I used to smoke. I don't smoke anymore. But when I used to smoke, I would light a cigarette every time I got on my motorcycle. Right? Mm-hmm. I had to look cool, I guess. I don't know why I did it. But anyways, this particular time I looked out and I knew we were going to get on the freeway right away, and cigarettes don't last on a freeway. They burn like real quick. So I decided, nah, screw it. I won't light a cigarette. I get on the freeway and I feel liquid. And I'm really intelligent, right? Like I'm a smart man. I look up and I see nothing but blue sky. Like it's not raining. And then I looked down and went, oh my God, gas. I forgot to grab the key and lock the gas cap. So I had gas pouring out on my gas tank, down on my engine, on me. So I killed the engine, pulled over, put my kickstand down, got off the bike, got the key out, locked the caps, wiped my bike down. I tried to get this all done before the gang turned around and come back. But I didn't. They turned around and came back. And what's up, Boomer? What's up? I hadn't had the name Boomer yet. What's up, Dave? What's up, Dave? I said, it's okay. Just a little bit of gas. Don't worry about it. So they started howling. They knew exactly what happened. I didn't lock my gas cap. So we get going down the road, and there was a husband and wife riding on the same motorcycle together, and they were Boy Scout and Girl Scout were their nicknames. And she whispered something. She went like this and said something into his ear. Of course, I couldn't hear, but then he turned to me and he just pointed at me and he said, sorry, go back. I said, I'm glad I didn't light a cigarette. I've blown my ass to kingdom come. And that's when she whispered in his ear, and he turned to me and he went, Boomer. And before I knew it, everybody I rode with knew my nickname was Boomer.
Boomer.
I got people today who have, and I've heard it, and they go, I didn't know your name was Dave. I've been introduced as Boomer, and they don't know.
Boomer.
Yeah. So yeah. I mean, that's how I got it. It was but okay. So you know what? Very few people have gotten that out of me, dude. So.
Does Jeremy know that story?
I don't know. Yeah, he knows the story, but I don't know where you live, but I can find out. Okay. So just remember that. All right.
Yeah, it's splashed all across the internet, so I'm not a hard person to follow.
I'm screwed now. Yeah. Cat's out of the bag.
Yeah, cat's out of the bag. I have it on tape too, so
yes, I know you do.
I will. You know what? If I'm going to put it in a safety deposit box, and if anything happens to me, we'll release it to the internet.
Awesome.
Yeah.
You leave it to Dave Ray.
Yeah. Yeah. Is there anything that I have missed that just for you, Dave, we'll move over to Jeremy, but anything like you feel like that you'd like to emphasize, or a point that I missed, or something you'd like to put in?
Well, I used to say I would never live on Vancouver Island because I'm not a fan of salt water. And I phoned a buddy of mine because I had retired and I thought I figured out the math properly on my income, and I'd used the wrong figures, so I was short in the figures, and so I just phoned him. We were talking about this, and he said, I got a fellow sitting here who was a rep from the agency, and he said, we just finished talking about you. I said, what do you mean you just finished talking about me? He said, I think you'd be a hell of a home share provider. And he would like to meet you. And I said, that means I got to move to Vancouver Island, dude. I'm not really sure I want to do that, right?
Yeah.
I said, give me some time to think about this. I got two kids, two adult children.
Yeah.
I'd never been that far away from them. Never.
Where are they?
They're on the mainland like outside of Vancouver.
Okay. Whereabouts? Like
Pitt Meadows, Maple Ridge.
Pitt Meadows. Yeah. Okay.
Pitt Meadows, Maple Ridge, and I'd never been that far away from them.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually raised them as a single dad for 10 years. And anyways, I thought about it. And I thought, it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity to earn some income, and who knows, right? So I actually spoke to both my kids and told them what the offer was, and I got the blessing from both of them. And next thing you know, I'm living where I said I would never live. And of course, I thought I'd come over here, do 4 or 5 years and go back running to the mainland. And I've been over here for almost 9 years now.
How do you like Nanaimo?
I actually like Nanaimo a lot. And
I
actually like the island. We've got some beautiful spots here. Of course, I was spoiled. I was used to riding everywhere. I've ridden up and down the island a few times, and we go on the same rides all the time. But you know what? It's like, if that's the biggest complaint I got, man, I got it made.
Yeah, no doubt. So Jeremy, was your first like home share situation?
Jeremy's first?
No, you're first.
Oh, okay.
Actually, you never done it before.
No, I'd never done it before. I come over and moved into my buddy's place till I could find a place to rent. Ended up finding a nice house to rent right around the corner from where I was living, actually. And the first fellow I got turned out wasn't a very good fit.
Okay. Yeah.
And not because I couldn't handle it, because it was too much for being in a home. And I can't really say much about that other than
I don't think we probably won't go into it.
So so after that, the first fellow that came to me was the fellow we've referred to in the book. He came to me before Jeremy did.
Of course.
He was with me for 8 years. That went very well. And and then Jeremy. So I've only had four gentlemen over this 8-9 year period.
Gotcha.
So I can't get rid of them. Okay. They just keep hanging around, man. It's your cooking. And see, it's my cook. They say it's my cooking. If they probably wouldn't be here if I couldn't cook. Right? But I feed them like they're royalty, for God's sake. I can't believe it. You can't find a box of Kraft Dinner in this house. You won't find one.
Okay. I'm gonna invite myself over.
Yeah, a lot of people have. We post pictures on Facebook sometimes. I post the meals. I have people say that all the time when I'm moving.
Yeah.
I love cooking. My dad taught me how to cook. The first thing he taught me on was the barbecue when I was 10 years old.
Really? Okay. Yeah. Okay.
So
what do you like? Cooking. What do you like cooking?
You name it.
Anything, huh?
Anything. Yeah. They get a good variety of meals here. There's meat every night pretty well. It changes on the season. Like when it's warm weather, I do less cooking. We have more like salads and cold cuts and stuff like that. Because it's just too hot to put the oven on. But
Yeah.
I cook roast beefs, steaks, chickens,
Wow.
fish, pork, everything, pork, vegetables. We have a lot of vegetables and fruit in the house, so they eat very healthy. I'm proud of that. I'm proud that I've been able to feed these guys healthy. They both like bananas. I'm running to the store every 3 days to get bananas.
Yeah, me. I have one banana a day at least. So
Yeah, these guys do too. And,
yeah.
But you know what? Stores up the road, 2 minutes away. I can honestly tell you, I have zero complaints today, and very few concerns on a
That's
daily
good.
basis.
That's
So,
awesome.
yeah,
That's awesome.
it's been a great experience. I can't even put into words sometimes the experience that I've had. It's been great. It's been awesome. Yeah. These guys are miracles, and they should be given far more breaks than they are. Society's coming around a bit in some ways, but not entirely. There's a long way to go yet, but April is Autism Awareness Month every year. Yeah, there's still lots to be done.
Gotcha. Well, I think I've got some really good stuff. I'm not sure how I'm going to use it quite yet.
Good.
But we'll fit it in somewhere.
Good.
No, I'm glad we did this. This is a great idea. Yeah.
Yeah. If you got any other questions, feel free to call or shoot me a text or whatever. Right.
Cool. Awesome.
Yeah.
Hey, Jeremy, sir, you're up if you're still there.
Yeah, I'm here.
All right. So yeah, we're gonna talk about your Nana. We haven't actually really explored her at all. So can you just tell me a little bit about her?
You don't need me for this one, right? No.
Nope. No, you're good.
Meetings to do outside, so I'd like to go do that while the sun's out.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Joel.
Right, thanks, Dave. Appreciate it. Right. Appreciate your time.
Talk to you later.
Take care.
Yeah. They owned a cabin business and a gas station near Clear Lake, Manitoba.
Okay.
And they sold the cabins and the gas station, and moved to Nanaimo in the summer of 1987.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how are you related to them?
What was that?
How are you related?
They're my adopted mom's parents.
Parents, got it. Okay. Gotcha. Okay. And then, so can you describe your relationship with, you're with them?
Well, I didn't have much of a relationship with the husband because he didn't live much past moving to Nanaimo. He got cancer and passed away.
And what year was this?
87.
87. Okay.
Yeah. And it was hard on my mom, and we were out for a walk, and she broke down crying, and I patted her on the shoulder. I was 5. I said, "Don't worry, Mommy, everything will be okay."
Mm-hmm. And then, what did you do with your Nana? Like, what sort of activities?
She helped babysit at times. We would go golfing at a 9-hole golf course, and well, the weather was nice. I had my own club fit to my size. We would go on trips back east. There was a lot of good memories, a lot of good relationship stuff.
Can you talk a little bit about those?
Well, one of the most memorable trips was we drove to Tucson, Arizona, and I stayed with her for 2 weeks and then flew back home.
Mm.
And I was her navigator and helped her get where she was going, and we really bonded. It was the first time that my mom wasn't part of our trips, or
It was just you and your nana.
just me and Nana.
Yeah. Okay.
The only funny thing that happened that trip was on the flight home, I didn't hear the announcement that they had a cutoff on the age of people being escorted off the plane, and I almost ended up in Alaska. I realized I don't think anybody's coming for me, so I think I'll get off this plane now.
I've done that. I've almost done that. Okay, so what made her special?
She was always there, always gave me great presents for my birthdays and Christmases. Always joined us for special holidays, Thanksgiving, New Year's, Canada Day, all the holidays we'd spend together. She eventually found a new boyfriend, but he passed away in '94. And when I was told the news, I was so self-centered, I said, so? I just wanted to go home and play my video games.
Gotcha. How old were you? So 94. So
I was 12.
12, yeah. Do the math for me.
Yeah.
Let's. How did she encourage you?
She always treated me like a regular kid. She didn't see the disability. She didn't see any of the struggles. She didn't. It was kind of nice. But when I got diagnosed, it was almost impossible to convince her that I had anything different about me to be diagnosed with.
Gotcha. How often did you see her, or do you see her?
She passed away a couple of years ago, back in 2017. We used to see each other quite a lot, like a couple times a week type of thing.
Gotcha. What did you... Sorry, go ahead.
After she had a stroke, she moved back into her house with a walker, and my parents thought I was unemployed at the time. It was 2012. And they thought I could be the live-in aid person to cook her breakfast, lunch, and suppers, and got her meds and everything. But I just couldn't handle it.
Gotcha.
She was too much work. She's mostly deaf, so she had the TV up really loud, and
that was 2012, you said?
Yeah.
Okay. So how long did that arrangement last?
Not very long. Maybe a week.
Gotcha.
But
and then Go ahead.
But my parents got help from VHA, the Vancouver Island Health Authority, and they sent people in twice a day to give her meds and make sure she was doing okay. So she was
Gotcha.
able to stay at home. Didn't have to be put into a nursing home till she fell down and broke her hip at I think it was the end of 2016, somewhere around there.
Okay.
Because she couldn't walk anymore. She was wheelchair bound.
Yeah, gotcha. And then, how did it make you feel when she passed away?
It was really hard on me. I shouldn't have actually gone and seen her in the funeral home because it caused me to have a meltdown. But I wanted to say goodbye.
Yeah.
These days, on the in the summer, usually on her birthday, me and my mom go out to her gravesite and just visit.
That's nice. Yeah. Very nice. So last time we spoke, Dave said that she was one of the people that kept you going. Why was that? How did she keep you going?
Because of how well she treated me. She gave me a lot of self-confidence and bumped up my self-esteem and felt that I could do anything I set my mind to, and I was the smartest person in the room. Sometimes I was, sometimes I wasn't, but to her I was.
That's what Nanas are for, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I never wanted to disappoint her or cause her any pain or suffering.
Gotcha. When you burnt down the house, and was she still like? How did she react to that?
I don't really know. My parents never really talked to me about how she acted around the fire and my arrest and the court dates.
You weren't in contact with her at that time?
Not really, no.
But then you got reacquainted with her after.
Yeah. Once I moved back in with my parents in early 2001, and things got back to somewhat normal. I think she still came to my birthday in 99. Yeah, she came to that because we went and saw The Sixth Sense. She walked in. I don't blame her. It's a pretty bizarre movie. But she still just treated me like a normal human being, and
Gotcha.
is there anything had gone wrong or
golf. Do you enjoy the golf? Because I mean, the 9-hole is. I mean, it's a sport. So, and I know how you feel about most sports. So, did you actually enjoy the golf, or was it something that you?
I enjoyed the companionship of going out with my mom and Nana and golfing. Not so much the sport, but the camaraderie and socialization and
Gotcha. Okay. Uh, else? Uh, think that. Oh, is there anything else that we should talk about? Any other memories you have of her that really stick out?
I don't really know. I mean, we had great trips to Edmonton, and I would fall asleep in the back of her convertible, and
Oh, she had a convertible. Oh, very nice.
yeah,
Um, with I guess, and how old were you at that time?
pretty young,
Yeah.
6 or 7, maybe
Gotcha.
during that memory. Because as I
Yeah.
got older, I didn't mean to fall asleep on car rides.
Yeah. What did you guys talk about?
I'm trying to think. We would talk about curling and
Curling.
players, and because my mom and Nana are, well, my mom still is really big into curling.
Oh, really? Okay. Uh, do you like curling?
I can watch it. I can get
Yeah.
into it. It's
Yeah.
I don't be able to play it, but
Yeah.
I enjoy watching
I
it.
I remember at Squamish, I was the sports reporter
Oh, yeah?
uh up there, and I had to report on this curling game. And I had no idea. I still don't know how to play it. I had no idea like what was going on, who was winning. And so I was completely lost. I had to have this woman beside me kind of explain what was going on. The one, I think probably the one and only time I've watched curling.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I don't know. I
Yeah.
I think I'm good.
Yeah, there's some other memories playing bocce ball.
Oh yeah.
Played a lot of that in the summers
Mm,
at her place and at ours. Horseshoes, long darts.
gotcha. All right. I think I'm good. Yeah. If there's something that comes to mind, I'll email you. But as I'm working through. So yeah, give me a couple weeks to go through all the changes and work through everything. I still have the changes from last, when was it, Monday? Yeah, Monday.
Yeah.
That we talked about. So yeah, give me a couple weeks to do that, and we'll go from there.
Sounds good.
All right. Take care, Jeremy.
Yeah, take care.